Jesus, I surrender all to Him. I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him in His presence daily.
The 20th of November 1929, Volume 27. How peace is the fragrance, the air, the breath of Jesus. How the works of God are all ordered. How He does minor things first and then greater things. Example of creation and redemption. I was concerned about this blessed printing of the divine will, and at any cost I would have wanted to prevent some other things that regarded me and many other things that my beloved Jesus told me from being printed. I feel a nail driven inside my soul that embitters me deep into the marrow of my bones. So I was thinking to myself, blessed Jesus could have spoken of His adorable will first and then of all the rest. In this way He would have spared me this sorrow that pierces me so much. But while I was pouring out my bitternesses, my always lovable Jesus, all goodness, clasped me in His arms and told me, my daughter, courage, do not lose peace. Peace is my fragrance, my air. It is the effect that my breath produces. So in the soul in whom there is no peace, I do not feel I am in my royal palace. I feel uncomfortable. My very divine will, that is peace by nature, finds itself like the sun when clouds advance against the light and prevent the sun from shining in its fullness over the earth. It can be said that when the soul is not all peace, whatever the circumstances might be, it is like a rainy day for her, and the sun of my will feels as though hindered from communicating to her its life, its heat, its light. Therefore calm yourself and don't form for me clouds in your soul. They hurt me, and I cannot say, I am in this creature with perennial peace, with my joys and with the light of my celestial fatherland. No, now, daughter of my volition, you must know that I am order, and therefore all of my works are ordered. Look at how ordered is creation. The purpose of creation was man, yet I did not create man as first. Had I done it, I would not have been orderly. Where to put this man, where to place him? Without the sun that would illuminate him, without the pavilion of the heavens that would function as room for him, without plants that would nourish him, everything was disorder, and my fiat reordered and created everything. And after it formed the most beautiful dwelling, it created man. Does the order of your Jesus not show in this? Now for you also, I was to maintain order, and even though our primary purpose was to make known to you our divine will, that it might reign in you like king in his royal palace, and as it would give you its divine lessons, you might be the herald in making it known to others, yet, like in creation, it was necessary to prepare the heaven of your soul, studying it with stars through the many sayings of the beautiful virtues that are manifested to you. I had to descend to the low level of your human will in order to empty it, purify it, embellish it, and reorder it in everything. It can be said that those were many sorts of creations that I was doing in you. I was to make the ancient, disordered earth of your human will disappear in order to call back the order of the divine fiat in the depth of your interior that, making the ancient earth of your whole being disappear, would make heavens, suns, seas of surprising truths rise again with its creative strength. And you know how all this was matured through the cross, through segregating you from everything, making you live on earth as if it were not earth for you but heaven, keeping you always absorbed either with me or in the sun of my divine fiat. Therefore everything I have done in you has been nothing other than the order that was needed in order to give you the great gift of my divine will as it was given to the first man at the beginning of his creation. And this is why there were so many preparations, because they were to serve that man who was to possess the great gift of our will as his beloved inheritance, symbol of the great preparations made in your soul. Therefore adore my dispositions and thank me by being faithful to me. Another example is my redemption, and how it is necessary to do secondary works in order to obtain the intent of forming the primary works of a goal we have set. My descent upon earth, taking on human flesh, was precisely this: to lift up humanity again and give to my divine will the right to reign in this humanity, because by reigning in my humanity, the rights of both sides, human and divine, were placed in force again. Yet it can be said that I said nothing about it, or just a few words, making it understood that I had come into the world only to do the will of the Celestial Father, so as to make its great importance be comprehended. And in another circumstance I said, those who do the will of my Father are my mother, my sisters, and belong to me. As for the rest, I kept silent, while the purpose was precisely this: of constituting the kingdom of my divine will in the midst of creatures. In fact, it was right that I not only was to place creatures in safety, but I also was to place my divine will in safety, by giving back to it its rights over all flesh, as I had given it over mine. Otherwise there would have been a disorder in the work of redemption. How could I come to place creatures in safety and let our divine rights, those of our fiat, go to rack and ruin? This could not be. But even though the first purpose was to balance all the accounts of my divine will, as celestial doctor I complied with giving medicines, remedies, I spoke about forgiveness, about detachment, I instituted sacraments, I suffered atrocious pains, even unto death. It can be said that this was the new creation I prepared, so that creatures might receive my divine will as king in the midst of his people, in order to let it reign. So I have done with you. First I prepared you. I spoke to you about crosses, about virtues, about love, to dispose you to listen to the lessons of my fiat, so that by knowing it you would love it, and feeling within yourself the great good of its life, you would want to give its life to all, making it known, loved, and letting it reign. End of the reading. The 20th of November, 1930, Volume 28. How the fear of losing a good means possessing it. Who has the right to ask for the kingdom of the divine will? Nourishment in order to form and grow the life of the divine will in the creature. My abandonment in the divine volition continues, though with the fear that because of my infidelities, I might have the great misfortune of being rejected from living inside the beautiful heaven of the supreme fiat. Oh, what pain! My Jesus, do not allow that I may go out of my dear inheritance that you with so much love have given me, and in which with so much jealousy you have always kept me. I ask you this for love of the heavens, that with so much love you extended over my head, symbol of the heaven that with even greater love you enclosed in my poor soul, that is your will. Make it so that it may always reign in me, and that its kingdom may extend in the whole world. I ask you this for the sake of that love with which you created the sun that beats continuously on the earth without ever stopping its course, to offer to me your love of light, living and real image of the sun of your will, within which, More than in a sea of light, you enfolded your little daughter. I ask you this for the sake of the maze of the pains in which I have been enveloped and besieged, pains that water me with gall continuously, that makes me feel myself under the rain of storms that threaten to drown me, pains that it is not given to me to entrust to the paper. Jesus, Jesus, have pity on me and let your divine will reign in me and in all. But while I was pouring out my sorrow, my sweet Jesus, my dear life, extended his arms toward me to sustain me and told me, my daughter, courage. The fear of losing a good means possessing it, knowing it and loving it, and possessing it not by usurpation, but by right of property. And when a good is possessed by right of property, no law, either human or divine, can with legitimate ways take away the goods that are possessed. More so, since it is absolute will of your Jesus for you to possess by right of property the inheritance of my divine fiat, that I have given you with so much love, so that you might ask by right for its kingdom to come upon the earth. In fact, only one who possesses my will has the right to, and can, by right, ask for its kingdom to come upon earth and extend everywhere. And since my will fills heavens, sun, sea, and everything, even though they do not have reason, they are dominated freely by the powerful strength and reason of my fiat, from which they never moved away. Therefore, in the name of the heavens, sun, and everything, you can, by right, ask for its kingdom, because the littlest thing, as well as the greatest, animated and dominated by my divine will, is always superior to man. In fact, without it, man occupies the last place. He is the degraded one and the most humiliated in the midst of all created things. He is the neediest, the poorest, who, in order to live, has to stretch out his hand to all created things to receive the charity of their beneficial effects. And sometimes this is denied to him by the express will of the one who dominates them. Even more, it puts the elements against man to make him touch with his own hand what it means not to live in the inheritance of it. Only our will gives the exaltation to the works of our creative hands. It puts them in the place of honour. It endows them with all goods in such a way that she will have need of no one. Even more, it renders her dominator of herself and dominator of everything. And by virtue of my will that they possess, all bow down and feel honoured to let themselves be dominated. Therefore do not fear, because fear renders unhappy the good that one possesses, and embitters the purest, the holiest, and divine joys that exist in my fiat. More so, since each act done in my divine will forms the nourishment in order to nourish the past acts done in it. In fact, many acts united together have formed its life in the soul, and life cannot be preserved and grow without nourishment. Therefore, one act serves to preserve another and to form the life of my will in the creature. Repeated acts form the water with which to water it, the air to give continuous breathing to this life, all of heaven, the heartbeat to make it feel the continuous heartbeat of my will, the food to preserve it alive. And just as the body cannot live without nourishment, without the air that makes it breathe continuously, and without the heartbeat that gives motion to its whole life, nor is it enough to have taken food a few times, or to breathe and palpitate at intervals, to be able to form the human life, but always, because only continuous acts have the virtue of forming life, otherwise the life is extinguished. In the same way, one who wants to form within herself the life of my volition has need of repeated acts, in such a way that nothing be lacking to this life, either the air to make it breathe, or the food to nourish it, or the heat or the light to make her feel the life of heaven in her soul. Therefore do not be concerned with anything else, but always forward in my divine will. End of the reading. The 20th of November 1932, Volume 31. God placed happiness in his works in order to make the creature happy. Every act done in the divine will is a work, a step, a love that God surrenders to the creature. I am always at the same point in which I started, in going around in the acts of the divine will. And while it seems to me that I have gone around in its works and understood all the beauty, the sanctity, the infinite goods that they contain, in going around again, I feel myself an illiterate, tiny, little, ignorant one. And I see that there is still much to understand and to take and to learn about the works of the Supreme Will. But while my little intelligence remained as enraptured in looking at the magnificence of its works, my celestial King Jesus, visiting my poor little soul, told me, "My blessed daughter, all of my works contain value and infinite goods. Therefore, while it seems to you that you have understood everything, returning again into the midst of our works, you find that much more remains for you to understand. And this happens because the infinite cannot be contained in the finite. At the most, it can be filled, but enclosing all the infinite will be impossible. And since your intelligence is finite, it exhausts itself before the infinite. It fills itself, and it seems that it has understood everything, but this is not true. It is rather that being filled, it doesn't have any place to put other divine knowledges, but then chewing them and thinking about them again forms the new little place in her intelligence, and finding herself again in the midst of our works, she finds new things to take and to learn. This is why you always feel illiterate every time you find yourself before the magnificence of our divine works. You must know that as in the works of creation, so for those of redemption, we placed in each one of them the fullness of happiness, of light, of grace, of goodness, and so forth, of all the divine qualities. And all these prerogatives are in the act of pouring themselves over the creature to make her happy. The happiness of our works as celestial air brings the fragrance, the divine embalming to anyone who comes near, in order to understand them, and overflowing from them, they communicate the infinite goods that they possess. By means of our works, we place the creature under the reign of our happiness, in order to make her happy. But since they do not draw near to understand them, they are unhappy and feel the poisonous air of their human will. No one works with the purpose of making himself unhappy, or of being bearers of unhappiness, and of not taking the profit, the good of his work. Even more the Supreme Being, who has done everything in order to form the staircase of happiness for the creature. Now it is our unique contentment to see the creature in the midst of our works, in order to unite with them, enjoy them, and understand them. And she forms the norm, how one must operate in its works. And since our will does not know how to do dissimilar works, it repeats in the creature the facsimile of our works. After this, I continued to feel completely immersed in the divine will, and my always lovable Jesus added, "My daughter, do not marvel. Everything is possible in my will. With it, the creature holds everything in her power and can do everything. Rather, she feels its empire over her being, and not one act escapes from her if not invested by a divine act, power, and strength. What is human dies in our will, but a happy and glorious death. It dies to rise again with the life of the acts of a divine power and a will that is not hers. And so much is the empire that she feels over herself, that if it were given to her to do other things of her own volition, even holy and good, she would never do them. She would content herself with being even centuries doing nothing, rather than do one act alone, since she would not feel over her act the empire of the operating act of my will, because in it the creature clearly understands what one single act of my will operating in her act means, that compared to thousands of her acts, without the divine act they would be as nothing. You must know that as the creature enters into our volition, our goodness is so much, and we enjoy so much keeping her with us, that we surrender to her every time she does an act in the divine volition. So she acquires now a step of ours, now a word. Now she takes our love, our goodness into her power, and completely happy she tells us, in your volition I have your love in my power, therefore I can love you a great deal. My love is not dissimilar from yours, therefore I can love you as much as you love yourself. I have your works in my power to glorify you, and your steps in mine in order to tread the same way that you tread in seeking all creatures, in order to conduct them all before your adorable majesty. And since our Supreme Being, with its immensity, finds itself in everything, therefore it is the life of every work and step of every foot and heartbeat of every heart. The creature who lives in our will, having surrendered hers to ours, we feel walking together with us in the steps of all, in the works of each one, and she loves us in the heartbeat of each heart. And when she sees that creatures offend us, as our loyal follower, she would want to hide us in her littleness and give her life for ours, for our defence. Oh, how not to love this creature! In our will there are unheard of prodigies, and since it is not known, what is not the wonder that they do not believe what I tell you? But you do not stop, follow its light, and let yourself be its happy prey. End of the reading. The 20th of November 1937, Volume 35, follows the same topic, how the divine will makes love arise so that everywhere it may feel loved by the creature. Wherever our will is, we find the adaptable material for the conception, birth and growth of our life. My poor mind continues to swim in the sea of the divine volition. Its surprises are so great and so many. Its eagerness for wanting its own life in the creature is such, and so much it says about it, that it's impossible for me to repeat all. And my beloved Jesus, visiting my little soul with unspeakable love, told me, my blessed daughter, speaking about my will is for me the greatest feast. Heaven unites with me in celebration, and as everyone sees me speaking about my will, they are all attentive to listen. There is no greater feast that I may give to the whole celestial court than to talk about my divine will. My will makes arise the operating love in the souls on earth and the beatifying love in heaven. Where there's no love, I don't even move, I do not go, nor do I know what to do with the creature. But the love that my will makes arise is immense, and there's no place in which one who lives in it cannot be found all invested, almost clumsy, with my love. Soon she has our same destiny, loving everywhere and in every place, loving always and every one. We feel that she loves us in the hearts of all. Her love runs to every place, and she loves us in the sun, in the heavens, in the shining of the stars, in the whispers of the wind, in the murmuring of the sea, in the darting of the fish, in the singing of the birds. We feel that she loves us also in the hearts of the angels and the saints, and even in our divine womb. Everyone says, "May you be welcome. Oh, how we awaited you. Come and take your place of honour. Come and love our Creator in us." My jealous will holds her tightly to itself, and inundating her with ever new love, makes her do, all for itself, love songs, love dirges, sweet enchantments of love, wounds of love. It seems to be saying, "I found someone who loves me and I want to enjoy her. I wouldn't be happy if she didn't tell me always and everywhere, 'I love you, I love you.'" The soul who lives in our will be our triumph, our victory, the depository of our love, our continuous glory. My love feels the need of the company of this creature to pour itself out and to have hers. So I want to breathe together with her, palpitate and operate with her. Union can produce the most beautiful joys, the most ineffable contents, the greatest works, the most intense love. My will give so much love to this creature who lives in it as to be able to inundate the whole of creation. My volition will lay a new heaven of love upon all human generations so as to feel embraced and loved by the love of this creature, which was given by my will itself, everywhere, in everyone, and in every place. And this creature, while hugging and loving my will say, "O Supreme Volition, come to reign upon earth, invest all generations, win and conquer all. Can't you see how beautiful it is to live in it, having your love in its power, which contains so much power and virtue that nobody can resist? When this love will have invested everything and everyone, the love of a creature who lived in our fiat and who carries with her the bond of the human family, we will let ourselves be one. We will demolish all the obstacles and will have our kingdom on the face of the earth. Therefore pray and make everything serve to ask me that my will may come to reign on earth as in heaven." I continued to be inundated by the divine fiat that was pouring on me light and love. Light to make itself be known, love to be loved. And my sweet Jesus coming back added, "My daughter, how beautiful it is to live in my will. We cannot be without this creature. We keep thinking about new surprises to make for her, something new to give her, new things to tell her, so that she may get to know more about our fiat. According to her knowledge, we can widen the sea of our love within her. Knowledge is the little bell that, as it rings, calls our power, sanctity, goodness and love with sweetest sound to be enclosed within the creature who lives in my will, to make us operate our unheard of prodigies. You must know that when we find our will in the creature, we feel beatified, and we delight so much in looking at her that, to enjoy her even more, we look at her mind, causing the conception, birth and growth of our intelligence. We look at her mouth, letting our word be conceived, be born and grow, so that she will speak about our Supreme Being with such eloquence and grace as to be loved by all of those who will have the good to listen. We look at her will, making our will be born again and grow to new life. We look at her heart, conceiving in it our own love, its harmonies, its stratagems, to make us win and to make her always be reborn in our love. We look at her feet, letting our works and steps be conceived, be born and grow. We could do this all at once, but we don't, in order to spend more time with her, to enjoy her more. Our love is such that we want to form our own creative hands, our very life within the creature. All that we are, we want to give her. Our love is not satisfied if we don't repeat our life in her, and we find the adaptable material only when we find our will that has prepared, purified and embellished the ground for us. And as we form our life, we sing victory and glory to our divine being. And what does she do? She gives us the food to be nurtured and to grow within her. She gives us the water for our thirst, her own being to clothe us, her soul as our room, her heart as bed for rest, and all her acts to keep us amused and surrounded by our own celestial joys. Who can tell you, my daughter, all that we can do and give to the creature who lives in our will? We give everything and do everything, and she gives us all. End of the reading.
All to Jesus I surrender, all to Him I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him, in His presence daily live. I surrender all. I surrender all to Thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all.
The 20th of November 1938, Volume 36. The Soul in Waiting for the Divine Will. The Divine Will forms the adaptable material for the works of God. The Little Divine Field. I feel the Divine Will inside and outside of me, surprising me whenever I am about to do my little actions or to say my little I love you, to invest them with its light and make them its own. It has such an astonishing, inimitable attention that it's almost incredible. If the creature is not attentive in giving it her little acts, oh, how much it suffers. Oh, how much I too would like to be all attentive, to imitate it by letting nothing escape me, so that we can surprise each other. But as I was thinking this, my sweet Jesus, visiting my little soul all love, told me, my blessed daughter, the soul that wants to live in my will lives in waiting for it. She waits for it when she loves, because she wants to love together with it. If she operates, she awaits my will, because it wants to be actor and audience. My will is in continuous and anxious expectation of everything the creature does, in order to inhabit her, to be the actor, to make her acts its own. Furthermore, you must know that as the creature enters my will, she finds the sanctity of God investing her, its beauty embellishing her, its love transforming her in God. Its purity makes her so limpid that she no longer recognizes herself. Its light makes her godlike. Oh, how the power of my will can change the human destiny. This is why it becomes spectator of the creature, wanting to do its work that has been prepared from all eternity and that has to be done for that creature. My will does not want to be repressed in its incessant motion, and it reaches the point of locking the creature within its eternal motion, to be able to receive and to give, and not to suffer in waiting for one to live in its will. It cannot bear not having the creature living closely together with it. If it does not feel the creature within its divine motion and sanctity, its love remains as if arrested and suffocated. Therefore we keep our little divine field within one who lives in our will. Here we can do our job, while our will provides us with the adaptable material to make the most beautiful works. In fact, when we want to work in the little field of the soul, We expect to find the material of our sanctity, since we would never put our holy hands in the human mud. In order to do our most beautiful works, we want to find our purity that attracts us, our beauty that enraptures us, our love that imposes itself on us to make us work. Only our will can provide these divine materials for our job. Everything is adaptable for us, so we can make such works as to astonish heaven and earth. On the other hand, we are forced to do nothing where our will is not present. We do not find our adaptable materials, and if there is any good, it is only an apparent good, stained by self-esteem, self-glorification, and distorted intentions. We are averse to working in that creature because we would put in danger our most beautiful works. We make certain first, and then we operate. You must know that the more acts the creature does in our will, the more she enters into God, the more we extend that little field within our divine womb, the more beautiful the works we can do, and the more we can give of ourselves. Therefore, the creature is always under the increasing action of our divine life. Our love for her is so great that we carry her in our arms, continuously repeating, "We make you in our image and likeness." We nurture her with our divine breath, with our sanctity, power, and goodness. We look at her, finding our reflection, our wisdom, our enchanting beauty. How could we ever stay without this creature if we are tied together by our divine attributes, if she possesses us and continuously gives us in return what we gave her, in order to love and repay us? Beyond this, by living in our will, she received from us the virtue of producing life, not works. In fact, by giving her our sanctity, love, and everything else, we give her the generative virtue. She continuously generates life of sanctity, life of love, life of light, beauty, power, and wisdom, offering it to us. She surrounds us and never stops returning to us, turning into life all that we gave her. Oh, what a conception, what a feast and glory for us, in seeing so many lives return to us that love and glorify our sanctity, and seeing this done in our light, wisdom, and beauty. Other creatures can give us at the most works of sanctity and of love, but not of life. Only one who lives in our will can form many lives with her acts, because she has received from us the generative virtue to be able to generate as many lives as she wants and say, "Life you gave me, life I give to you." See then the great difference. Life can speak and is not subject to end. It can generate. Works cannot speak, cannot generate, and they are subject to dispersion. Therefore, nobody can reach the one who lives in our will and the love she has for us. No matter how many great works they might do, they will always be like little drops of water before an ocean, the little light in front of the sun. One single "I love you" of a creature living in my will is enough to leave behind all the love of all the creatures put together. This "I love you," although small, runs, embraces, and rises over all. It comes into our arms and hugs us. It gives us 1,000 caresses, telling us many beautiful things about our love. It takes refuge in our womb, and we hear it always repeating, "I love you, I love you, I love you, life of my life. You generated me, and I will love you forever." In anything these creatures should want to do, they do nothing less than form life. If they perform good and holy acts, by possessing the life of our will, they generate the life of our beauty and the life of our sanctity. Coming into our arms, they tell us the story of our beauty and sanctity. And oh, how many beautiful things they tell us. with how much grace they narrate the extension of our goodness and the height and greatness of our sanctity. They never stop repeating how good and holy we are, and throwing themselves into our divine womb, they penetrate into the most intimate hiding places to get to know even more how good and holy we are. So they keep singing to us again and again how good and holy we are. Oh, how beautiful it is to hear the narration of our divine history from a human will united with our own, whispering to her who her Creator is. In sum, if she wants to glorify us, she generates the life of our glory. If she admires our power, wisdom and beauty, she feels within herself the life of our divine qualities. She narrates to us how powerful, wise and beautiful we are. She says, "Life of my life, now that I've known you, I feel the need to talk about you and to narrate your divine story. These lives are the greatest glory for us, our long and inseparable generation, always in motion, always speaking about our Supreme Being. No life waits for another. As one comes, another follows behind, and then another again. They never end. Our happiness is full. The purpose of creation is fulfilled, which is having the company of the creature who knows us. And while we delight in her and she is with us, we make her more and more like us. And how could we not love the company of the one who belongs to us? And even more, we love the company of the creature because we are life of her life. This is why our pain was great. When Adam, the first one of our sons, descended from within our will to do his own will. Poor Adam. He lost the generative virtue to generate divine lives with his acts. At the most, he could make works, but not lives. When he was united with our will, he possessed that divine virtue, so he could form with his acts as many lives as he wanted. It happened to him as to the sterile mother who cannot give life, or as to a person who possesses the most pure and bright golden thread and wants to do a work with it, but then throws away that golden thread. He pushes my will as life away from himself. He has to use the thread of his own will, which is like an iron thread. Poor creature, he could no longer do golden works, works invested by the bright sun of my will. He had to remain doing only works of iron, and if necessary even works filthy with passions. The destiny of Adam was so reversed that he almost couldn't recognize himself. He went down into the abyss of miseries. The strength and the light were not in his power any more. Before he sinned, our image and resemblance were growing in all his acts. That was a task we assumed in the act of creating him, and we did not want to maintain our task, keeping in force our creative word through his very acts. That was a task we assumed in the act of creating him, and we did not want to maintain our task, keeping in force our creative word through his very acts. We wanted also to keep him always together with us and in communication with us, so our pain was great. And if we, being all-seeing, had not seen how our will was to reign again as life in the future centuries, like a little balm to our intense suffering, we would have reduced the whole of creation to nothing, not knowing what to do with it when our will no longer reigned. Creation was supposed to serve only the creatures, and we created all things for ourselves and for the creatures. Therefore pray that my will may return as life. You yourself be its victim. End of the reading. There are no more readings today. Have a blessed day.